Good morning, YouTube. Today's topic is relationships. I want to focus primarily on romantic relationships. Now, before I get started, you should know that I've been married and divorced twice. I am currently in a relationship. It seems to be going much better than some of my other ones, but it is not unknown for me to make mistakes. So, my disclaimer is that I'm not Dr. Phil, I'm not Dr. Ruth, I'm not even Romaine Patterson from Derek and Romaine. My opinions are my own. They are informed based on my experience with previous relationships. They are also informed by my observations of other people in relationships. Why? Why do we have all of these relationship issues? What's going on? All right. The things that came to my mind as I first was exploring this, and this was actually prompted by a section in the mindset book that's talking about relationships and the effect of fixed versus growth mindsets on relationships. Middle school. Okay, so you know that I teach middle school, and one of the things I see a lot of is people dating and then breaking up. And I'm not going to call it puppy love because that's incorrect. To these students, it is very important, it's very dramatic. But it seems like boundaries don't exist. Trust seems to not exist in a lot of the relationships, or what they think needs to be done in order for there to be trust in the relationship, to me, is very disturbing. So one of the things that I've discovered my students will do is they will snoop on each other's phones. Okay, and that's kind of crazy because you're looking through all their messages, you're looking at who they're calling. I really think that in order to have a good relationship, you need to be able to trust your partner. How do my middle school students handle relationships? This is the part that I find disturbing. They require an exchange of passwords. Okay? So Bob and Sally are dating, or Sally and Jesse are dating, or Bob and Jesse are dating, whatever. And they say, "Oh, I love you and I really trust you. Here's the password to my Yahoo account," or "Here's the password to my Facebook account," or "Here's the password to my Gmail," or to my Snapchat, or to my Instagram, or I don't even know what some of the other ones are that they're using. And this allows their partner to see everything. And they think that this means that they love, and they think that this means that they trust. And honestly, I find it very creepy. I think that when you're in a relationship, you should be able to have your own space. You should have kind of a comfort zone. And I don't think it's very comfortable to know that your partner can just look at everything and actively does. Because we're not talking like they exchange passwords and then that's it. Like they're exchanging passwords so they can snoop on each other to keep them honest. But if you can't trust your partner, why are you with them? The other thing that I see a lot is gossip, right? So Jesse says something to Michaela, and then Michaela tells Bob about it, and Bob immediately assumes the worst, right? And instead of going and talking to Jesse about what was said, Bob just says, "You know what, we're going to break up." Okay, I've seen this so many times. I actually had a student in one of my classes this year who broke up and got back together with the same person 7 or 8 times over the school year. It was insane. And her classmates were giving her a really hard time about it. Okay, so gossip just does so much. And, okay, so get this. Even the teachers at the middle school level sometimes fall into the gossip trap that you see with our students. I would not be surprised if that were true about the staff at the high school level, or if that were true about other businesses. Some of the rumors that went around were that X got favors because they're the best friend of somebody higher up, that Mr. Bob was talking trash about Miss Sally, just things that are designed to divide. And I don't think we need to be divided. We've already got, as a staff, we've got so many things on our plate right now. We have testing, we have curriculum development, we have trying to prepare our students for high school. That's a really big job. We have to deal with parents. We have to deal with students who seem completely disinclined to do any of the work that they need to do in order to pass. So when I hear these rumors, especially when they're coming from students, or if a student is saying, "Hey, Mr. Bob did blah," whatever you want to fill that in with, my first reaction typically is to tell the students to cut it out, right? That they're not allowed to disrespect teachers in my room. That they can tell me what's happened, but they're not allowed to actually, call them names or anything like that. And then once they tell me what's happened, I will ask them, how do you talk to the teacher? Are you sure this is what they meant? I will ask them, are you sure that it wasn't this way? And look for alternate explanations, right? Because I don't think that assuming the worst is the best course of action. And I don't like assuming the worst about things. That's a miserable life to lead. So I don't. And I ask my students to respect that and to also not assume the worst. And I do this about student relationship rumors that are running around as well. What do you know for sure? Who did you hear it from? What might be their motivation? Let's figure this out. Communication is key. They hear something bad about a partner or friend or something, they actually go and talk to that person. And they don't go talk to that person because I've also seen this. I don't mean go and talk to that person and say, I hear you were talking crap about me, and then trying to pick a fight, right? That's not productive, okay? But you could pull the person aside, and it doesn't have to be in public. So we have all these methods of communication, and we have so many people who are not utilizing them, right? It would be super easy, and they have the phone numbers for these people so that they can text or so they can message or whatever it is, and they can just say, hey, what happened? All right. We actually had this happen in the mommy group that I'm part of on Facebook. One of the mothers was upset because her daughter came home and said, hey, I peed my pants. And when the mother asked the daughter what had happened, the daughter said that she had asked multiple times to go to the bathroom and that she was told no, and so she ended up wetting herself. Okay? So mom was venting on our Facebook group, which is set to private, which is good, right? Because everything that's within that group, it's supposed to be within that group so that we can get the support that we need and so we can offer support to each other. And what had happened is somebody from within that group shared that information with the teacher. And what the mom was doing is she was just asking, how would you approach this? Because her initial reaction was anger, and she did not want to talk to the teacher angry, which I totally applaud her for, because it's really easy to hear what your kid says and to say, what are you doing, right? Even my own child had a bullying situation that took 6 weeks to resolve with the people at his daycare. Now, the end result with the whole mommy thing is that because the trust of our online group was violated, now a bunch of the mothers are not going to respond. And some of the mothers responded initially to this woman's scenario with anger, right? Because they felt empathy for the woman's child. How dare a teacher do this? And because it got to the teacher before the mother intended to address it, the teacher was defensive and the teacher was angry because this had been on Facebook, and the mother did not get a very good resolution because the teacher was on the defensive, right? And what she had intended to do is go in and say, this is what I was told, can you tell me what happened? All right, in a completely non-confrontational way. She just wanted to know, what's the other side of the story? Because we know that there are always multiple sides to a story. And it turned out that they were discouraging kids from going to the bathroom, but they had an unspoken policy in place that if a child asked to go to the bathroom more than once within some time period, that they would let them go. And this had somehow been miscommunicated. The little girl thought she couldn't go to the bathroom at all, and so she had her accident. Now, when it came to the bullying situation at school, at my son's daycare, he came and he told me, this kid pushed me, and he gave me a name. And I went in and I talked to the teacher. So talking to the teacher first, it's a really nice thing to do. It's a professional, appropriate thing to do. Talk to the teacher, okay? So I went in and talked to the teacher. I let her know what was going on. I let her know who he had named. And we attempted to go from there. Well, my son kept coming home with complaints. And the first thing I had to do is clarify, is this a new thing that happened? Or is he still talking about that other thing that happened? And when I established that he was talking about new events, I finally went and I talked to the director. And I gave them a lot of time to address these issues. Um, One of the things that I was told is that there were two children who were bullying him actively, and one of the children was special needs, and they were working on getting him counseling and all of that. Obviously, they didn't give me names because that child has a right to privacy, right? But they were letting me know that this is a thing, and so I was working with him on like how do you handle people who are having a hard time handling themselves. And we kept working, but his anxiety about going to school just was going through the roof. I mean, he was crying, he was throwing a tantrum, he didn't want me to leave, he was making it difficult for me to go to work. And so we finally had to move him to a new school. And it was unfortunate that that was the resolution that we had to go to. But it was definitely our last choice, right? We tried to talk to the teachers first, and then we talked to the director, and then we made the difficult choice of moving him to another school. And he was much happier at the new school. He had one incident where a kid bit him, but he wasn't obsessing about it because it seemed to be a one-of incident. And in fact, for a few moments there, he actually became the bully, which was a whole different conversation that we had to have with him. But seems that we've successfully addressed the issue. So, all right. So as I was saying, we have all of this technology available. We have so many ways to instantly communicate with each other, and I think at times our communication is actually worse for it. Instead of talking to people face to face, we get intimidated. We're worried about confrontation, and we don't talk to them. We talk to everybody but them. People with a fixed mindset kind of think, well, everything happens for a reason. It may be because of God, maybe karma, whatever you want to say. But they think that this is the way things are and they can't be changed, right? So, road rage. If you have road rage, you will always have road rage, and that's just the way you are. And cursing at other people who can't even hear you and possibly pissing them off so that they react in a violent manner is just something that you have to deal with because that's just the way you are. Okay? And no, this is not acceptable. People make assumptions, right? Somebody says something, and instead of asking for clarification, you immediately go somewhere else, right? It's kind of like the loaded words, we need to talk, okay? Earlier in my relationship with my current partner, I had the we need to talk conversation. And it wasn't that I wanted to break up. It was that he was doing something that bothered me a lot, and I needed to talk to him about it. And it was something that we eventually worked through. But if I hadn't talked to him, we could have just stayed silent, and I would have gotten more and more annoyed with him every time he did the thing that bothered me. And we wouldn't be together now. And I'm making it sound like we have a super long relationship, but we've only been together going on 2 years. So there is that. All right, let's talk about the mindsets, and then I'm going to talk about what I believe are characteristics of a good relationship, whether it be an intimate relationship or a friendship. Okay, so according to the Mindset book, people who have a fixed mindset believe that relationships should be easy, right? That you see the person, you fall in love with them, and everything just clicks, they complete you, that kind of thing. They think that that if the partner truly loved them, they would know exactly what they needed. If problems begin to arise, they believe that these are fundamental flaws instead of things that can be worked on. Okay? People with the growth mindset understand, again, this is according to the Mindset book, that relationships require some work, that communication is incredibly important, and that it's okay to have views that are not the same on different things, right? Relationships. I believe that the characteristics of a good relationship, okay, are 3 things. First, that you have open lines of communication and that you're not automatically assuming the worst when there is the possibility that miscommunication has occurred. Second, that you trust each other. Trust is incredibly important. If your partner is out until midnight, if you trust them, you're going to believe that they have a good reason for it. If there is an undercurrent of distrust, or perhaps you are not so self confident, then you may immediately assume having an affair, all kinds of things. And you know what? Those assumptions suck. They cause stress that you don't need. All right? And I believe that in good, healthy relationships, there is a level of reciprocity. If you have one person who's whining all the time and complaining all the time and life just totally sucks all the time, and the other person is the one who is having to make them feel better, and the other person is the one who's saying it's okay, it's going to be all right, and they're always the support, it's going to cause problems later on down the road. It needs to be a back and forth. And I think that these three things apply to friendships as well. If you have somebody that won't let you do anything for them, this can be problematic. And it's not a sign of a healthy relationship. In a healthy relationship, even if the person is dealing with their own stuff, in a good friendship or in a good intimate relationship, they're going to recognize that either the person's going to say, look, I'm too overwhelmed and I can't deal with your stuff right now, but let me know how I can help you in other ways. Or the person is going to say, hey, I welcome the distraction, and it would be really nice to help you out because it'll kind of take my mind off of my own issues. Other characteristics that are seen in relationships when it comes to fixed mindsets, things that you don't want to see in relationships, is generalizations. I've seen this quite a lot. And this is when you get into that fight, and you've seen, right, the etiquette of fighting or something along those lines. And one of the things that they always tell you, see, I just used one of those words. One of the things that seems like they always tell you is don't use those big generalizations. Don't use words like you never or I always or things like that. Okay? And in both of my previous relationships, this was an issue. This was something that came up. I've seen this with my students' relationships. They get into a fight and the person says, you never do the dishes. Or you always think I'm cheating. Okay? As a person who's been on the receiving end, giving end of that, I can tell you that not getting credit for the times when you are doing what they're asking for sucks, because then you're looking at it and you're like, well, if you're not going to acknowledge the times that I do what you're asking me to do, then why should I keep trying to do the things that you're asking me to do? Like, why should I even bother? Because you're not going to acknowledge them. Okay? Yeah, so those definites are not good for fighting. Believe that change can happen. Another thing that came up in the mindset book that I thought was really good, and something that I truly believe is another important hallmark of a good relationship, is that you are pushing each other to be your best. Okay, this is not somebody who is enabling you to be a lazy couch potato, but they're actually somebody who's encouraging you to push yourself and to accomplish whatever it is that you're trying to accomplish. Okay? And they're not doing it in a way that's controlling and, uncomfortable and all that kind of stuff. They're doing it so that you know that you're supported, and that if you want to go that route, you can go that route. Okay. Communicate. Trust. There should be reciprocity, right? Fight in a way that is not dirty. Don't fight dirty. Don't do the passive aggressive crap either. If your partner is doing something that drives you nuts, talk to them. Okay? Don't try to leave them hints. Don't tell them, well, if you can't figure it out, then that's your problem. No, it's your problem too, because you're not telling them what they need to do. All right? This goes back a little bit to teacher evaluations, right? I want to be a better teacher, and the only way I can be a better teacher is if I'm getting feedback on how I'm doing as a teacher. So if I don't get that feedback, then how am I supposed to improve? Okay? So if I'm doing something that is annoying the heck out of you and we are friends, you gotta tell me. I would much rather you come and talk to me than you pretend that everything's okay and you just ghost. Alright? Ghosting's not cool. Like, take the time to talk to the person. Don't throw away a relationship over some little thing that is possibly a misunderstanding. Okay? That is my spiel on relationships. I don't know if you have any questions, but if you do, go ahead and comment on this video. If you have ideas for videos that you'd like to see me do in the future, please comment as well, and I will get to them. I challenged many of you to find a thing that was always positive in its outcome or a thing that was always negative in its outcome. I have not received any responses, so we will consider me the winner of that challenge. This is the Fat Health Teacher signing out. Have a fantastic rest of the weekend. If you're working, I hope that it goes by quickly. Have a good day. Like and share if you are enjoying these videos, and I will see you maybe tomorrow.